Hello, I'd like to share with you the new card UI, which is a custom example of the admin app. If you look right here, we have three cards. I have the first two cards from the left over here. We have a piezo buzzer card. And in the middle, we have a vibration sensor card. And on the right, we have an RGB LED card. Now, you might notice that these first two cards have images of the same circuit at the top. And that's intentional because they are, in fact, two components on the same circuit. And it's similar to what you see right here. If you wanted to see the actual circuit itself, if we look at the dial, you can see it actually working. Let me just show you the actual circuit if we put it right over here. So here we have the actual circuit. And if we vibrate it, we can see it vibrating. We see the buzzer going off there as well. So ultimately, whatever you put at the top of these cards is up to you. I'm using a little image representing the circuit and the same one on each one because both of these are on the same circuit. And that's just what I've decided for those cards. It's entirely up to whoever's creating the cards. Likewise over here, this RGB LED, this is not a picture of like a circuit representation at all. It's just a picture of the RGB LED pins for the kind of RGB LED that we have. I chose to do that because I think it's an interesting fact to think about. It's not an image of the circuit though, but it is something reflective of the component itself. So, what's new? You may have noticed that this vibration sensor is new. As you can see, I keep on putting my elbows on the table over here and vibrating the table ever so slightly, and we can see that that dial is registering the vibration level. So that's a new thing. And I'll be adding down the road some other visualizing type of widgets. I'll show you how this dial has been added. It'll be very easy. And it's added over in the client module plugin. Well, might as well show a couple of these things in action first, I guess. So we already heard the buzzer going off whenever the vibration was over 9,000. Let's buzz the buzzer from this interface. And we can see that we can buzz the buzzer from the interface. And as we've seen before, let's also check, for example, the light. So if I go over here, and I hold the light up and I click toggle. Whoops. I guess that's not going to work too well. Let me pull this over to the side. There we go. And if I click toggle color, it toggles the color of the light. And if I press the button, again on the actual device, it also toggles the color as well. Okay, so the kind of functionality that you'd expect to achieve. Now, the important thing I want to make note of here is that these cards are very easy to create and manage because they are created on in the client side module plugin, and they're managed at the server with the server module plugin. Only those two files, and only with a very minimal number of APIs or function calls, if you will, types of functions. So let's look at those and let's appreciate the simplicity of the actual interface for this admin app. So let's go right over here into the admin app, and this is the client module plugin. And let's see what's being done here. Well, before that, let's actually look at the two files that we would interact with to use this particular admin app and customize it further. So the client module plugin and then the server module plugin. Only those two files, client module plugin and server module plugin. If we look at the server module plugin, it handles the connections to the Firebase, subscribing to the buzz, the vibration, and the color state, because of course we're dealing with the buzzer, the vibration, and the color state of the LED. So here's the 3 calls that may establish that communication between the Firebase. And then here are the 2 button related listeners, if you will, for whenever the client wants to buzz the buzzer or whenever the client wants to toggle the color state. So these are the 2 listener handlers, if you will, that are listening for this buzzer, or this button, excuse me, and this button. It's important to note that it's this interface right here with the, if you look at this interface is with the Firebase, subscribing to the Firebase, and then listening to the client. That's pretty much it. There's a couple other APIs possible, but that's primarily it for the function calls that you will be making. And you can see it calls out to everybody else on the network, this IO emit. So that's also calling out to anybody else that's also connected. Let's go to the client module plugin and look at how these are created. So when we're creating these cards on the client module plugin, there's 3 cards, right? So here's the first card getting created. Here's the second card getting created. And here's the third card getting created. Notice they all look, those lines of code all look pretty much the same, except for the name of the card and for the specific image links that are passed in and the headings that are passed in for the card. So you just say that you want a new card, you give it a name, let buzzer card equal, and then a new window card, and then you pass in the image link and you pass in the heading that you want. Now this buzzer card, we also want to add a button. That's an option. You can add a button or not. And here we want to add a button, and that button is going to have a label, buzz buzzer, and whenever the button is pressed, we want to call up to the server, socket emit, call up to the server and announce buzz the buzzer. And that right there, that announcement up to the server is being listened to in the server module right over here. When the socket hears buzz buzzer, then the socket itself interacts with the Firebase and sends the buzz value true to the Firebase. And whenever the client receives an update for the buzzer value, it sets the readout on the card to whatever that value is. So if we look at this sequence, we're creating a card. Let's close this up. So we're creating a card, the buzzer card, and then we're adding a button, and then we're listening for any updates to the buzz value that might be done elsewhere, because another client might be changing the buzz value. The circuit itself might be triggering the buzzer to go on. But anyway, we need to listen if the buzz value is getting changed. And if it changes, then we want to show that in our user interface. We want to set the readout. This same pattern is followed with the vibration sensor card. Over here, we're making a new card. We're passing in the image link. We're passing in the heading for the card. But this card is a little bit different. Instead of adding a button here, we are adding a dial, which is one of the new features that I've added. So with the vibration sensor card, we're adding a dial, and all you have to do is just pass in an integer that represents the maximum number on the dial. And then the client is told to listen for whenever there's a vibration update, and then it updates the dial, basically. It updates the dial, the vibration sensor card dial, update it with the data. Now let's look at the last one, the RGB LED card. Same thing, we create an RGB LED card by calling new window card and passing in the string for the image and then the heading name, creates the card. And now we're adding a button, because on the third card we also have a button, and the heading on the button, or the label on the button, if you will, is going to be toggle color. And whenever that button is pressed, we're going to call to the server toggle color state. And again, if we go to the server module, it's listening, the server is listening for whenever the client calls to toggle the color state. And if it is red, it changes it to purple. If it's purple, it changes it to red. So, and let's go to the client module plugin again. And the client module will also listen to see if somebody else changed the color. Like, as we know, we can change the color from the circuit itself. And it updates the readout because it's just a text readout. So currently we only have these two ways to kind of display the data. I will add some more later, but I will release this today for people that want to tinker with this. So the current readouts are either a text readout like this, or if you add a dial, then what you do is you update the dial. So those are the two kind of visualizing ways to visualize the data. So here's our vibration dial. Again, if I open up here's the vibration circuit, and if I tap that, we can get it to vibrate. We can also cause this to the buzzer to buzz. If I press this buzzer, whoops. Okay, so it buzzed that buzzer, and we actually effectively created that buzzing by clicking on the button right here. And the other circuit that I have right over here is so this LED circuit right here with this little button on it, and we can toggle the color on that. And again, I'm gonna run out of space right here, but we can toggle the color as I showed before, and that toggles the color on it. And then, like I said before, we can also just press the button to do it. And so forth. So that's the basic idea. This is also a very responsive application. It works good on all devices, including TVs and tablets and mobile phones. And if you go down, like if it was a phone, it would look kind of like this. And then you can just scroll down on the phone through all the different cards for all the different aspects of your network that you want to interact with. And that's pretty much it. I look for your questions and comments. Please post your questions and comments so that I can be very responsive to what you think. Take care.